You lose control. There is no control. It controls you, you don't control it. I'm Willie C. I'm a great recovery addict. Began using heroin at the age of 16. I became addicted to heroin when I was 17 years old. It's primary, it's chronic. Once you have it, you will always have it.
It started prescription pain medicine, honestly. So I had a gunshot wound. I didn't realize it then, but I picked up a lifetime habit.
Carter moved to the Ozarks from the Mississippi Delta years ago.
The average person just might be surprised to learn that things like that happen all the time in some of the best neighborhoods, some of the nicest places in town.
America was first introduced to opium in the early 1800s, brought here by Chinese immigrants who were working on railroads in the Old West, and it grew quickly in popularity, even being linked to famous frontiersmen Wild Bill Hickok and Kit Carson. From that, doctors began to develop morphine, and tens of thousands of people became addicted very quickly.
We've really started seeing widespread use of it with the use with Civil War soldiers, as far as to ameliorate pain. They were doing a lot of amputations, and the soldiers became addicted to it.
The main problem that we face here is the methamphetamine. We're not seeing the heroin problem as of yet.
Douglas County Sheriff Krista Gay says the void left following the crackdown on pseudoephedrine and meth labs has been filled by the Mexican cartel.
Since it's so accessible, we are seeing the price be a lot cheaper. I mean, the information that we're getting now is that they're paying about half of what they were paying this time 2 years ago.
It's a problem shared across the state line, but if meth is #1 in rural Arkansas, prescription pills are a close #2. Arkansas has the highest prescription drug abuse rate amongst teens in the nation.
Greene County Prosecutor Dan Patterson.
We know, based on our experience, that much of our crime is driven by those who use or deal drugs.
Says drug cases in the county take up much of the department's time.
Everything from possession to distribution to trafficking cases.
With 2 prosecutors dedicated to working drug cases and investigators working undercover on the streets, convicted drug dealers like 21-year-old Wesley Dale Hausil are busted.
This one is a little bit over 10. Sorry. This one is right after. You're gonna like it, most definitely. If you guys like it, definitely if you get half grams. Half grams are a little bit less expensive.
In reality, it was my doctor that actually saved me, I think. I mean, he kind of looked at me and he actually cared. Like, I think a lot of people see addicts and they just see like trash or, somebody who isn't ever going to be fixed or like a normal functioning part of society. And, he helped me. He put me in this program and he really did the right thing, and I don't think I would be here without him.
I think a lot of people don't talk about it. You'll see an obituary in the paper of a young person says, well, they died at home or they died here or there, and the family is embarrassed. They don't want to say they died of an overdose.
We've called our series of courageous conversations at Color 10 The Quiet Epidemic. Long says he wasn't aware of the magnitude of opiate addiction in the 7th District until the issue hit close to home for him.
I have 3 friends, 3 personal, lifetime friends that have lost children in the last year and a half to this problem.
So when did you hit rock bottom?
I had gotten into an altercation with my parents. I was withdrawing off of very high amounts of methadone, and which is for heroin addicts. And I was drinking. I was told in a letter that I had drank 17 beers in under an hour's time. I ended up getting into a fist fight with both of my parents.
His parents at the time were in their late 60s.
I don't remember the part with my mom. I remember the part with my father. I remember shoving him into a hallway, and he had fallen down, and when he hit the tile floor, the sound, it almost made me throw up immediately. Like, I heard something break and something heavy broke. He had just gotten out of having the ball in his hip replaced. And so I found out through letters that I had actually pushed that new ball through the back of my father's hip and shattered it.
I was very excited. I mean, I got an opportunity to continue to play baseball, and I'm very thankful.
At 25, he had his whole career ahead of him. That career ended after the 2015 season when doctors told him the news.
It wasn't a one pitch, it was kind of throughout the year, I'm guessing. I got an MRI. It's kind of heartbreaking to hear that information, but once again, injuries happen.
Lots of us living in a house, sometimes 9 to 11 people, and I just was very hungry when I stayed with her.
She says her grandma was generous, a trait community members agree was passed down to Faith.
I felt the belly hunger. I've never felt the deep effects of absolute hunger that these families experience.
And typically 1 in 5 women will deal with domestic abuse.
It happens to anybody. It happens to educated people, doctors, lawyers, teachers. It happens to stay-at-home moms. It happens to everyone. It didn't begin to get physical until we got married, but there were signs of that beforehand.
I would definitely say were major red flags if I would have realized it. Whereas he was extremely pushy from the get-go. You know, like he did not want to take time to get to know me and to kind of bloom anything. It was like immediately we met, the next day we were dating.
As a man, we think, okay, well, I had a family, I had a dad, maybe, and how good a dad was he, and what did I learn from him about being a husband? In most of our cases, we learn little to nothing.
Felicia is joining others throughout the community this month to say, I care.
This is a big deal. It's an epidemic. It's something that's been going on that will continue to go on unless the community stands up and says enough's enough, and that's the importance of I Care.
Harmony House is using social media to shed light on the issue.
Our ideas will bring it out from behind those closed doors and kind of put it in the public's face.
Nursing in general, I think, can be hard. ER nursing in general, I think, can be hard. You have to have a want and a passion for any job or position that you take and you do. If a SANE nurse is not out on the floor working, we request that people are on call to come in if need be. That is completely voluntary, and it's 24/7. Very often we get called in the middle of the night. There have been times where I've been called 2 different times. They show up 24/7, 365 days a year, and we have to be ready for that.
Domestic violence is widespread
throughout the entire city of Springfield
and keeps first responders busy.
It makes up more than half of the entire assaults in the whole city of Springfield.
But police say it doesn't follow any specific pattern.
The majority of the abusers are men, and the majority of the victims are women.
The majority, but not all.
All the national research shows that it's throughout all income levels, all areas of the country. You know, there's really no certain group that's involved in domestic violence more than others. It's just the reports are more focused on certain areas where we get the calls more often.
This is a crime map of all the domestic assaults that have happened in Springfield city limits in the past month, 174 of them, and you'll notice they're all over. They happen north, south, east, west, but there are a couple of hot spots. But police say that doesn't necessarily mean the crimes happen more in these areas, just that they might be more heavily populated here, or if you stay in an apartment complex or say an extended stay motel, it might be harder to keep the crime quiet.
It's been a little over 20 years ago. It started out, it was a quick relationship. It started out with him being very controlling, very wanting to know where I was all the time. And it didn't begin to get physical until we got married, but there were signs of that beforehand. He was very isolating. He would get me away from my parents, away from my friends. Most of the time, the injuries, the bruises would be in areas that others cannot see. They'd be covered with clothing. I would wear scarves around my neck if I had finger marks or bruises on my neck. Makeup would cover some of the rest. There were a couple of injuries that could not be covered, and that was usually excused by I ran into the door, or I hit my head on the car door, I fell down the steps. I always had an excuse or a reason.
When Cox Health interviewed Eric Clay for the Director of Public Safety position 2 years ago, he sold his future employer in part by promising to tackle domestic violence in the workplace. Now, he's educating employees across the 27-county system about the signs to look for and the resources victims should be directed toward.
It's not something that surprises us when it happens here. It's not a huge problem that we see every day, but we do have people who come forward and they say, hey, I'm seeing something here, and we certainly go out of our way to make sure that we provide them with the assistance that we can.
One day I picked up my child from kindergarten and he said, Mom, is Dad mad today?
because he's mad I want to go home. At that point, I decided I had to leave.
Yeah, domestic violence definitely affects everybody in the family. I think that so many times we don't realize what we're putting our children through.
Sunny Nutt is the shelter director at Harmony House in Springfield. She witnessed abuse firsthand through the eyes of a child.
In my case at home, the doors were always closed. There was actually a little hook and eye closure on the door to our bedroom, and my mom would lock that when she knew that her boyfriends were getting abusive.
Although she said she would never be like her mother, Sunny had several emotionally abusive relationships in her adulthood. She stopped the cycle, though, after her family and coworkers repeatedly told her she was better.
We're going to be covering a lot of topics and issues that are important to you and your families where you live. And we're also going to hear opening and closing remarks from the candidates seated here at our table tonight. As we begin, we want to meet the four people who are vying for your vote. Seated to my left, we have Catherine Hanaway, an attorney and former Speaker of the House here in Missouri. We have John Bruner, who is a former Marine and a businessman and a former CEO of a company that makes household goods. We have current Lieutenant Governor Peter Kinder also joining us here tonight. He's been in office since 2005. And finally, to my right, we have Eric Greitens, who is a former Navy SEAL.
Well, what a year in American politics. Maybe you thought Donald Trump was a shoo-in for the White House, but most people, including most political experts, didn't see it coming. With the election outcome in our rearview mirror, it's time to pause and reflect on where we go as a nation in 2017. While 2016 was one for the books, the real work is just beginning. We have a president-elect who says he's wanting to make things in America great again. Now, it's not clear what that phrase actually means, but if it entails making America better for everyone, then we owe it to Donald Trump to give him a helping hand in his efforts. If, however, Trump's America is made great on the backs of the vulnerable, or if Trump continues to insist on picking fights with the press or comedians whenever he's criticized, it's incumbent on all of us to stand against these behaviors. Remember, the political lesson of 2016 is that our government really is by, for, and of the people. President-elect Trump is simply the latest in a long line of leaders elected to do the people's business. This means that we cannot let ourselves lose sight of politics in the coming year. While there won't be elections to keep us occupied, there'll be plenty of new policy developments from the Trump administration. It's incumbent on all of us to keep informed and keep active. Happy 2017, everybody. I'm Brian Calfano.
Once again to give us some perspective on the race for Senate here in Missouri and also the race for the governor's mansion in Missouri. Let's talk about the governor's race first. Brian, this has kind of become a battle between what a lot of people say is a career politician and the guy portraying himself as the outsider. What do you make of this race?
Well, really, David, if you look at it, the motif about having the outsider versus the political establishment guy or the insider, it's something that repeats itself a lot in American politics, and it's happened a bit in Missouri politics too. I don't know that I make too much of it except to say that Eric Greitens is a very lucky candidate. He had a 4-person race to contest the nomination back in the spring, and he's able to win that. So he ends up being the unlikeliest of the Republican candidates to go against Chris Koster. I think, though, that Greitens has done a good enough job trying to rally the base and say, look, you can't trust any Democrat in Missouri. We see Jay Nixon, who's tried to be as conservative a Democrat as possible, and even he's too liberal for us Republicans. So don't give in to the strategy, if you will, by the Koster campaign to say that they're middle of the road enough for Republicans to come on board with them.
Back to Congressman Billy Long now. One challenge facing him could be Donald Trump. Despite some Republicans backing away from Trump, Long has tried to stay in his court. On a recent stop in Springfield, Long said he wants to remind Republican voters the next president will likely have the chance to choose several new Supreme Court justices. This fall, Long is running for his 4th term after 6 years in Washington and says without a friend in the White House, it's hard for the GOP to pass their priorities. And he says those new justices will have a significant impact on the country for the next 40 or 50 years. On a conference call with Paul Ryan and other congressional leaders, Long said fellow Republicans should be more worried about the White House than any other seat, even his on the Hill.
I said the other day, that I absolutely abhor and condemn his comments, but I can separate his comments from keeping Hillary Clinton out of the White House. How can you can't justify his comments? They're indefensible, so I don't intend to defend his comments. No, I think that it's, been a very troubling election, and it's not easy if you've got kids to let them listen to a lot of that's going on.
Welcome back. You're watching our live late local election coverage here on Color 10 of election 2016. Lots of surprises. We're going to get back to the numbers in the race for U.S. Senate here in Missouri, which haven't changed a whole lot, Jennifer.
No, it appears the numbers right now with 63% reporting Roy Blunt's up 15% from Jason Kander. That hasn't changed for the last hour, I would say.
He's had a margin of between 15 and 17% all night long in that race there. Our political analyst, Dr. Brian Calfano, for all intents and purposes, feels that this race is over, that Roy Blunt has likely won re-election to the U.S. Senate. We're not calling this race just yet, but we're waiting to see when we're going to hear from Roy Blunt, who is in Springfield. Now, take a look at that map we've been showing you throughout the evening, which talks about the balance of power there in the U.S. Senate, because that was the big question tonight. This is the CBS News projections of winners. 45 Democrats have a lock on their Senate seat. 48 have a lock on their Senate seat in the Republican ranks. So at this point, it looks like Republicans will perhaps hold on to the balance of power there in the U.S. Senate.
But
Brian.
as Billy Long pointed out, you really need 60 senators to have what they call cloture, which prevents the other party from enacting a filibuster. And so that can bring the Senate to a complete halt in terms of any of the activity that goes on.
We interrupt your regular programming for breaking news this morning. The search for the suspected murderer who escaped prison in Texas County yesterday is over. Daniel Campbell has just been arrested. We have live video at the scene right now. We have a reporter, Brendan Gurley, on the scene. Daniel Campbell was just taken into custody after a nearly 16-hour search that began last night. You're looking at it right now. You can still see a very active scene as police are canvassing the area looking for any evidence of the escape. We believe Campbell is in the back of one of the sheriff's cars that are right there on scene. The sheriff is about to give us an interview. We will bring you sound from him as soon as it's available. This is the man. He managed to escape the Texas County Jail last night. He's suspected of murder and a double shooting. And last night, the construction crew at the jail, we believe, left a door propped open, and he managed to just run out. Sheriff's deputies chased him away from the jail, but he managed to escape. They're not sure where he went from there. There was speculation that he had stolen a car and maybe was heading to a different area. However, he did seem to stay in Texas County. He was found in Success just this past half hour. We have the sheriff now. We're going to get that shot back up and take you to the latest with him.
Speaking to the homeowner, as I looked across the yard, I seen the subject come around the edge of a building and took after him.
How many miles are we from Texas County Jail?
Here, roughly 15.
So how difficult was it for you and your agency to track down him?
Well, anytime you're on a manhunt, it's a difficult situation. Especially last night, knowing we had a stolen vehicle, we wasn't exactly sure where he was. Was certain that he was still in the county because there wasn't another spotting of the vehicle.
Mm-hmm. And so do we know if this is any relatives that live here or why he was here? Do we know that information?
No relatives. He did know the subjects that lived here, but no relation.
And so how did you guys know about him? Like I said, several miles away from Texas County Jail. How did you know to come out here to this location?
We received a call from the homeowner that Daniel showed up here asking for a drink of water.
Yes, sir. And so, what's next for you guys after, getting Campbell?
We'll speak with him. We'll correct the wrongs that caused this event, and we'll move forward.
Yes, sir. And so can you tell us exactly what happened for him to be able to get escape from Texas County Jail?
We was having some construction done in the jail, and it appears that the maintenance personnel slid something in front of the door. He was on the phone and seen an opportunity to run, and he bolted through that door.
Now, how was he able to get here? Campbell, was he able to get here to this house? Was that truck that we suspected him to take, was that the truck that he was able to use, or?
Yes, that stolen truck is fairly nearby.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else that you like to mention or say that we did not ask you?
No, I just appreciate all the additional law enforcement help and the public's help in this situation.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff.
Search continues for a Texas County man who is charged with allegedly shooting one man and injuring another. Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jennifer Keelman.
And I'm David Oliver. Good to have you along. Authorities believe suspect Daniel Campbell is still on the loose in a truck he stole from one of his victims. This shooting happened in a rural part of the county southwest of Licking last night around 5. Nick Thompson is live once again with what we know so far. Nick.
Well, David and Jennifer, deputies say that the victim who was taken to the hospital and other witnesses at the scene were able to identify Campbell as the shooter because this shooting occurred right next door to Campbell's property. Now, according to a court document that was filed with these charges today, deputies went out to an address on Boiling Springs Road last night on reports of 2 men being shot. When they got there, they found victim Billy Bishop dead from a gunshot wound and found injured victim William Dembowski. Through talking to Dembowski and other witnesses, deputies say they learned Campbell approached Dembowski last night and said unusual remarks before firing a shot at him. Those witnesses said Campbell fired another shot at Dembowski after the first shot caused him to fall to the ground. Then Campbell allegedly turned to Bishop and shot him in the head fatally and shot again while Bishop was on the ground.
We've got some leads, you know, these, he was familiar with at least one of the individuals, you know. Until we talk to him, you know, we won't know what his motive is. It's all speculation at this point. Until he is caught, we will continue to look for him here, or until we receive some credible information that he is somewhere else.
Now, deputies believe that Campbell took off in Bishop's truck. It's a black and green Ford Ranger the deputies have been searching for all day. Of course, we're now almost 24 hours after this incident occurred. Anyone with information is asked to call the Texas County Sheriff's Department.
Daniel Campbell is accused of shooting 2 men Tuesday night. According to witnesses, Campbell emerged from the darkness with 2 handguns. They say he made several unusual remarks before shooting Billy Bishop and William Dembowski. Bishop died and Dembowski suffered critical injuries. According to authorities, Campbell then took off in Bishop's truck that was found yesterday afternoon near Patty Creek Road by the Missouri State Highway Patrol. Authorities say Campbell was arrested late this afternoon. He was found inside a church near Licking in Texas County. A man charged last month with murder in Texas County is on the loose tonight, and he is considered dangerous. Take a good look right here at this picture. Daniel Campbell was arrested in October, accused of shooting 2 men, one of whom died.
But just before 6 p.m. tonight, he escaped from the Texas County Jail in Houston. Our Colin Lingo is live right there tonight following the investigation for us. Colin?
Yeah, David and Jennifer, you probably can't tell by looking around, but believe me, authorities are in Texas County tonight. We've, in the short amount of time that we've been here, seen highway patrol people, city police, county deputies. You might even hear the helicopter buzz over here in a minute. You might hear the dogs barking in the distance. We have heard it all night. Those are precautions taken to find Daniel Campbell tonight. We just spoke with the sheriff not too long ago. He told us the breakout happened after some construction was going on and a door was left open, making it very easy for Campbell to escape. Now, he also said for everyone at home tonight, step number 1 is be safe. Take a listen to what he told us earlier.
Take the keys out of your car, keep your house locked, just be vigilant, you know. No reason to believe that he's armed, but could be, you know. He's wanted for murder.
Yeah, vigilant is the perfect word there. You heard him say, take the keys out of your car. He came out not too long ago, about an hour ago, and told us that recently a 1997 black Dodge truck with a red bed was stolen in the area. And while he can't confirm Campbell is behind the theft, he's not ruling anything out at this point. Now, for you guys at home, if you see anything, call the authorities. Campbell is wearing an orange and white prison jumpsuit. Reporting live in Houston, Missouri, Colin Lingo, Color 10 News, Ozarks First.
A man charged last month with murder in Texas County is on the loose this morning, and police say he is considered dangerous.
That's right. Take a good look at this picture. This is the man police say you want to watch out for. Daniel Campbell was arrested in October, accused of shooting 2 men. One of those victims did not survive.
But just before 6 o'clock last night, he escaped from the Texas County Jail in Houston, and that is where we find Color 10's Brennan Gurley live for us this morning with an update. Brennan, what can you tell us?
Hey, Chad and Heather, we're in front of Texas County Jail where Campbell just escaped over 11 hours ago. Local police, the county's deputies, and also Missouri Highway Patrol is all assisting in this search. The Sheriff's Department tells us and is urging all residents in the area to make sure to take all their keys out of their vehicles and to secure their homes. Now, the Sheriff's Department also tells us they don't believe that Campbell has obtained a weapon, but they said he is a dangerous individual. The breakout occurred yesterday after he escaped from what construction occurred here in the jail.
We was having some construction done in the jail. Somehow a door got propped. Mr. Campbell was on the phone at the time. Obviously, he bolted and run out the door. A couple of the COs took off after him, but by the time they got out, he was already pretty much out of sight.
Thanks, Megan. Yeah, nothing but gorgeous weather here at Pottinger Stadium. Sorry, Dan, Lucy, but plenty of time to get some high school football in. Kickapoo hosting Lee Summit. It's only their second Class 6 opponent on the season, and, well, they have their hands full. The Chiefs are trying to defend home field, but they came out with some nerves early on. It only took 2 drives for the Tigers to find the end zone on this reception by Sam Buckner. Kickapoo would fumble the ball twice and mishandle a punt all before halftime, but the Chiefs would go into the locker room down only 7. Lee Summit came out swinging in the start of the second half with a 60-yard play from the line of scrimmage to extend their lead 23-10. But Stout is as strong and relentless as his name implies. He ignited a comeback with this touchdown run. Chiefs score back-to-back to regain the lead at 24-23. The Tigers would retake the lead on this field goal with only 1 minute and 34 seconds left on the clock. Kickapoo would march down the field, and Chris Lawson would deliver the dagger as Kickapoo defends home turf 30-26.
It was incredible. You know, we had a score right there. It's undescribable what we're feeling right now to be 10-0 and advance in playoffs. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, you know, first half, probably played the worst half of football in my career, man, but we came out second half knowing it was 0-0. You know, our guys stayed up, they had my back, I had theirs, and we came out with a victory. You know, we've been playing ball for years together, man, and this is what it's all about, you know. I mean, I can't really say much, man. It's just something that you can't describe, you know. It's just gotta be the glory, man.
Let's go.
And the Chiefs moved to 10-0. They are the top seed in their district. So next week, they'll be back at Pottinger Stadium trying to defend home field as Lee Summit West comes to town. But for tonight, they're just going to enjoy the win. Reporting from Pottinger Stadium at Kickapoo, Daniel Shedd, Color 10 Sports, Ozarks First.
The regular season home schedule tonight against Tulsa. Springfield did make the Texas League playoffs and will host the first 2 games of the North Division Championship September 7th and 8th. Tonight, just trying to end the regular schedule on a winning note. And Jesse Jenner would try to get the Cardinals on the board early, a liner to left, but this one is caught at the wall by Kyle Garlick. In the 4th inning, Tulsa's Cody Bellinger would take this one to the same spot, but he had an extra spoonful of Wheaties this morning, and it goes over the fence for a 3-run homer to make it 3-0 Drillers. Then Bellinger with the encore, 6th inning, he pulls this one on top of the indoor facility, his 22nd homer of the year, and Tulsa beats the Cardinals 7-3.
Over at the O'Reilly Center, the number 12 Drury Panthers hosting GLVC rivals Missouri S&T. Junior guard Tevin Foster helping lead the Panthers today. First half hoops, Drury going inside to Douglas Moore. Nice turnaround hook shot, and the Panthers take a 2-point lead. Later, Panthers in transition as Foster with a nice finish. He ended up with a game-high 21 points. That makes it 7-6 Panthers. The Miners coming back with some nice shooting behind the arc as Danilo Zukov hits the three that ties the game. But the Panthers would buckle down defensively. John Williams the steal and takes it the other way for two. Panthers stay unbeaten, winning 92-72.
Well, sports on location here at Highland Springs, where the 27th annual Price Cutter Charity Championship is underway. 156 golfers teed off today, all looking for their share of $675,000 purse. Color 10's Megan Rice has your first round report.
The 2016 Price Cutter Charity Championship got off to a hot start, literally. The heat index was at 103 for the opening round. Also out to a blistering start was the Cali kid J.J. Spawn. The 25-year-old birdied 5 of his first 9 holes. Spawn gave this birdie putt a good run but would come up just short. He parred the hole, finishing at -5. One back of the lead.
Getting off to a good start on Thursdays are always, a bonus because it kind of gets you ahead of the pack early and can lead to some good finishes down the week.
There was a cluster of golfers that finished with a 67 after round 1 in the first wave, including Hunter Haas, the 2010 Price Cutter Charity Champ, as Haas tries to become the first ever golfer to win this tournament for a second time. Right through the heart of Arkansas flows the beautiful Buffalo River. Along that river, you can find 13 concessioners such as this one, the Buffalo River Outfitters. They can set you up with rentals to help you get out on the water, such as these kayaks and canoes.
It just gets a part of you and you can't get rid of her.
For 30 years, Buffalo River Outfitters have helped people escape from everyday life to take in this national river.
I guess being there and being a part of it and not having any structures on the river, not having it the wild, you're out in the wild. You don't have anybody around but you and Mother Nature, and enjoy.
The Buffalo was protected in 1972, making sure the river continues to give a view of what nature looks like, untamed and at its best.
Well, that's why they protected it, was because it was so unique. It was a paddler's paradise long before it ever was a national park.
I just really have felt that Willard needed something like this for a long time.
Last May, Margie Hughes opened the Downtown Cafe in Willard. Like it says out front, they have barbecue and much more.
It's not just barbecue. We have breakfast, we have dinners, we have desserts, home baked desserts, we have all kinds of goodies.
Customer compliments can be heard quite often.
Unique offerings, very tasty. I like to support local businesses. This is my first time here.
Margie and her team at the cafe strive to keep customers happy, so they'll keep coming back. Because some of the sales here that bolster the bottom line help people with serious problems.
There's a large segment of society that we kind of tend to ignore, that are invisible to us.
Margie uses the Downtown Cafe as an outreach of sorts to help the homeless and people struggling with drug addiction. Jim Hoover has spent years putting paint on a piece of canvas.
I've painted most of my life. Started out copying cartoons and things like that. I do mostly oil paintings. I'm just now getting into acrylics.
After he retired from the resort business several years ago, Jim was looking for some place to spend time with other like-minded artists. He found that opportunity in a small building right off Highway 39 at Creative Arts of Shell Knob.
It's diversified. There's a lot of different types of artists that do a lot of different things.
Our goal was to incorporate visual arts, music, creative writing, so that we could have all arts here in Shell Knob.
Marcia Nichols is one of the founding members of the Guild. It opened back in 2011 as sort of a spin-off of the Guild over in Kimberling City. Nichols knew there were enough creative spirits around Shell Knob.
And when we beat the bushes to find out who was here, we were surprised.
The Guild first had just 14 members, but now has 40 artists and supporters involved. The gallery displays the works of several members with varying talents.
We have artists that do pastels, oils, acrylics. We have fused glass. We have wood carvers. We have sculptors and photographers.
A lot of people, when they think about an art gallery, think about more of a museum type of setting. And they don't realize until they happen to come in and look at the paintings, and they don't realize that, hey, this stuff is for sale.
When we built this, we just built it for us. And it turned out so nice that we thought, why don't we share this?
And it's inside this big white building on an old family farm in rural St. Clair County where C.A. and Peggy Smith are sharing a trove of treasures and toys.
I come out and look around every so often. I see stuff that I haven't seen, I forgot about.
It took us a year to set it up.
They call their collection Toys in the Attic 2, and their passion for picking started early on when the Smiths got married back in 1958.
Well, actually, it started at an auction. We got into the old furniture, then we got into the dishes, and then we got into everything else.
That's evidenced in the museum they opened 3 years ago. It has two sides, a his and a hers. On his side, C.A. Smith shows off classic Corvettes and other Chevys, farm toys and tractors, even some prop guns used in a Roy Rogers movie.
Filling station memorabilia and toys, cap guns, Maryland up behind you.
Peggy's side showcases the softer side of life with dishes and dolls, Disney characters, and tiny replicas of products that used to be known as salesman samples.
They gave small portion of what they had for sale to the storekeepers so they could see what they had to sell. We have all kinds of dolls. I have Virginia Turner dolls, which are beautiful dolls with real hair.
And the Smiths often hear the same real reaction when people walk in and see their massive memorabilia museum.
Oh my gosh!
I'd kind of like to add another room on.
Whether they grow the building or the collection remains to be seen, but it is clear the Smiths have a real passion to share their treasures that took them years to find, and it all happened because two people fell in love.
Doesn't seem like we've been married 57 years.
No way.
First on Color 10 News.
Well, what about all those warm temperatures today? They were wonderful, weren't they? Well, they're a thing of the past now. We've had a cold front that has swept across the area. In the wake of that front, cooler temperatures, some clouds. Skies still partly cloudy. Had some very gusty winds earlier this evening between about 5 and 7 o'clock here in the Springfield area. Those gusty winds have since shifted into the eastern Ozarks, but we'll likely find some gustier winds returning here later on tonight. Temperatures are cooling through the 50s, currently 54, and by morning, 39 degrees. You may need a jacket when you head out of the house in the morning. We'll start with sunny skies. By lunchtime, skies will become partly cloudy, and throughout the afternoon, we're going to find mostly cloudy skies. A cooler day with highs around 64. In fact, that's the theme going into the weekend, cooler. How cool? That's in your full forecast coming up. Color 10 News at 10 starts now.
You're watching Color 10 News at 10 in high definition.
Up first here on your news tonight, the polls are closed. The results are coming in, and Missourians have voiced their vote in today's presidential primary. Good evening once again, everybody. I'm David Oliver.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jennifer Kilman. Color 10 is your local election headquarters. We want to get straight to the current results here in Missouri. On the Republican side, a tight GOP race with Donald Trump 42% and Ted Cruz has 42%. Definitely a close race there. Coming in third, of course, John Kasich with 8% and Marco Rubio with just 5%.
On the Democratic side of the race, we've got 62% of precincts reporting at this hour Bernie Sanders with about a 7-point lead right now over Hillary Clinton with 53% to 46%. We're going to be updating those results throughout this newscast. You'll see the very latest numbers scrolling at the bottom of your screen.
Let's take a look at the breakdown of votes here in Greene County with 77 of 80 precincts reporting at this time. Ted Cruz has 51% of the vote. Donald Trump 32%. John Kasich came in at third at 8%. Marco Rubio has just 5%. And on the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders has a dominant lead over Hillary Clinton, 61% to 38%.
There are 4 other states with primary elections happening today as well: Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, and Illinois. Want to take a look right now at the CBS News website where you can see the magic number for the Republicans is 1,237 delegates. Donald Trump right now has 574 delegates. followed by Ted Cruz with 365. Now, if you scroll down there, you can see the states where each candidate has won. And when you hover your mouse over a state, you can see how that candidate did there in that particular state. Tonight, Donald Trump won Florida, and John Kasich won his home state of Ohio.
Yeah, and on the Democratic side, the magic number, 2,383 delegates, of which Hillary Clinton has 1,412 and Bernie Sanders has 638. You can see Clinton won Florida, Ohio, and North Carolina. And, of course, we'll be updating election results here in Missouri and around the country. You can find the very latest numbers on our website, ozarksfirst.com.
So clearly a lot going on. We have team coverage for you across the Ozarks tonight. Dr. Brian Calfano in our studio with more on what the primaries mean tonight to kind of break down the numbers for us. Brett Martin is at the GOP watch party, while Colin Lingo is at the Hillary Clinton watch party, and Lindsey Klein is at the Bernie Sanders camp for us tonight.
Now let's bring in Color 10 political analyst Dr. Brian Calfano to crunch the numbers. Close race tonight.
Very close. I mean, this is Super Tuesday 2, and in some ways it's more super and more consequential for the candidates than we had 2 weeks ago. In Missouri, I think what the issue comes down to for Republicans is, does Donald Trump have the ability to close the deal with conservatives, those voters who are saying ideology matters, issue positions matter, consistency matters? These are all things that are going to be important to look for when we take a look at exit polling and how everything ends up after tonight. We'll know for sure by morning, I'm assuming, as to whether or not Cruz or Trump won. The issue, I think, with Trump is he has to find a way to effectively brand his campaign to conservative voters. And it looks as though Missouri is a bellwether on that conservative ideological test. Is it possible for Trump to win conservatives around the country? If he can't beat Cruz in Missouri, it would suggest conservatives, consistent conservatives, as you might see in polls, are going to side more with Cruz now that Marco Rubio is out of the race.
I was going to say, Rubio, as we mentioned earlier, he's out now and he's suspending his campaign. We heard Ted Cruz addressing his supporters just a few moments ago in Houston, Texas. He was basically saying, I've got my arms open for the Rubio supporters. Mm-hmm. Is he trying to get those folks to get behind him and lead him to the nomination now?
He certainly is, and the conventional wisdom is that, look, you've got Rubio supporters and Cruz supporters. They're not that different. If you look at exit polls and the polls that have been done up to this point, a lot of Donald Trump supporters come from outside the Republican Party. Independents or folks who may say they're Republican but haven't voted for a long time in a Republican primary. Those are the bases, if you will, for Trump's support.
Okay, now what's the takeaway tonight on the Democratic side?
I'd hate to say this because I'm sure we have a lot of viewers who voted for Bernie Sanders, but I just don't see mathematically with how well Clinton did tonight in Illinois and Florida and in North Carolina that she's going to in any way be tripped up by this. Even if Sanders holds on and wins Missouri, it's not going to be enough to overcome the deficit she's got. When you factor in the superdelegates that the Democratic Party uses, she's got a 2-to-1 advantage over Sanders. I would expect by May she is the Democratic Party's official nominee.
Of course, we did see Bernie Sanders here over the weekend, and right now he's got a 7-point lead in Missouri, but still...
Not discounting Missouri.
No, it doesn't matter. But
it's a national race.
And nobody's calling Missouri just yet, so we're still kind of waiting to see.
All right, Dr. Brian Calfano, always a pleasure. Thank you.
And of course, as you can imagine, several watch parties are happening across the Springfield area tonight as supporters gather to try and cheer on their particular candidate. We want to go out first to Brett Martin, live at Classic Rock Coffee off of Kansas Expressway at the Republican watch party tonight. Brett?
That's right, David. Things kind of quiet down right now. We had a lot of supporters out here, about 50, I would say. Excited watching the numbers roll in, but like I said, the party wrapping up now, but the race still nowhere near. I'm joined with Danette Proctor from the Greene County Republican Party. Danette, thanks for having us out here tonight. Very, very close race. Did you expect it to be this close?
No, I did not expect it to be this close. We expected Cruz to win in this area, but probably Trump statewide, but Cruz is they're neck and neck.
That close race, who does that benefit more, Trump or Cruz?
Well, Cruz, I think that's wonderful that Cruz is up there, and it'll be really interesting because our delegates are by congressional district, so when we see how the votes come in by the congressional districts, we'll know how our delegates will be bound.
Now, we saw him win by a large margin here. What do you think played a role in that?
He had boots on the ground, volunteers, he had a headquarter, and he was here. When that candidate is here, it brings out the votes.
Now, the work's not done in Missouri. You guys still have the caucus in April. Tell me a little bit about that and why that's important for the voters.
Yes, our caucus is the second Saturday in April, and at that caucus, we will be electing delegates that go on to the congressional and the state conventions, and those delegates will be the ones that will be electing our 52 delegates to national.
And then after that, you guys throw your support behind the Republican nominee, and the work begins all over for the general, right?
That is right. That's
cool.
right.
Well, thank you for joining us. Thanks for letting us have out here. And again, the work continues. So again, out at Classic Rock in West Springfield, where some GOP supporters rallied around to see who was going to win, but again, too close to call. Reporting live in Springfield, Brett Martin, Color 10 News, Ozarks First.
All right, Brett Martin tonight. Thank you. Now let's head over to Coyote Adobe Cafe, where our Colin Lingo joins us now live from the Hillary Clinton watch party tonight. Colin?
Yeah, guys, we're out here at Coyote Adobe on Glenstone, and it's getting kind of late. A lot of people have gone home, but there is a dedicated crew back here who is sticking it out. Among them, Enoch Morris, who is not only the Southwest Missouri volunteer lead for the Hillary campaign, he's also a poll judge. You've been up since 4:30 this morning working those polls.
Yes, I did. I did work the James River West polling location, and we started about 5 o'clock in the morning, and it just has been going all day.
Now, Sanders is leading right now, but you say Hillary has what it takes to win the nation, huh?
Well, I would say certainly anybody that she has won Florida, Ohio, and North Carolina in one night. Not the fact that she's leading in Illinois. And, you know, I'm not throwing in the towel on Missouri or Illinois or anything. I mean, she's still got a good chance to take all 5 of them. All 5 states.
Now, real briefly, why is she the better candidate? Just real brief.
Well, she's prepared. She's prepared. She's been tested. She's been, had the experience in all the different things that she's done in her. And she's a progressive that wants to get things done.
Well, there you have it. Out here at Coyote Adobe, reporting live, Colin Lingo, Color 10 News, Ozarks First.
And of course, you heard the opinion there of Mr. Morris. There are those who would beg to differ, who certainly are throwing their support behind Bernie Sanders. Our Lindsey Klein has been with that group tonight here in Greene County. What's happening there, Lindsey?
Yeah, David, we're at the local Bernie Sanders campaign headquarters in downtown Springfield, and the party here has wrapped up. But a lot of the supporters here tonight said they were feeling the burn, hoping Bernie Sanders can take the win over Hillary Clinton in the Show Me State. It's been a very tight race tonight, and many Bernie supporters here attended his rally Saturday and were very impressed by him and the way he carried himself, saying that maybe that could have been the deciding factor for local voters who may have been on the fence between Bernie and Hillary.
We're really excited about today. The momentum's been building. I think ever since the Iowa caucus, we've seen a shift in the Midwest. Then when we won Oklahoma, then Kansas and Nebraska, Missourians for Bernie really felt that there was genuine hope here. So tonight we're really feeling that.
I very much support Bernie because I see him as, one, he has a lot of integrity, and two, he is our best shot at fixing a lot of very systemic issues that are plaguing our democracy right now. Campaign finance and economic justice.
Still a tight race, but a lot of people here tonight have been cheering with Bernie ahead because many of them have spent a lot of hours and days holding signs like this on busy roads trying to win over votes for Bernie Sanders. Reporting live in Springfield tonight, Lindsey Klein, Color 10 News, Ozarks First.
Let's switch gears now. Take a look outside from our tower cam tonight. Quickly cooling off here in Springfield. Definitely need a jacket out there. And we could see colder temps this week and into the weekend. Jamie's in next with his forecast. Stay with us.
You're watching Color 10 News with David Oliver, Jennifer Kilman, weather with Chief Meteorologist Jamie Warner, and sports with Dan Lucy. This is Color 10 News at 10.